right, this is another show here on the Broker Realtor Connect. I got one of our, I would say, our best realtor in Fresno, or our hardest working realtor, Linda Peltz here. I'm gonna go ahead and let you introduce yourself and take it from here.
Hey, Marshawn. Good to see you. Realtor Linda Peltz here. I'm with eXp Realty. And yes, I am here hard at work in the Fresno, Clovis, California area. I am thrilled to be here with Marshawn working on our Broker Realtor Connect podcast.
Yeah, thanks again for joining the show and taking time out of your busy day because I know every day is a busy day for you, especially out in the field and working working the real estate and expect and for me, I'm always doing something innovative here on the mortgage side,
You
but
are. You are such an innovator. I am. I'm out touching boots on the ground, and I've been with many clients and contractors today and set many appointments for future. But I'm always amazed at your intuitive stuff that you come up with. I'm pretty impressed.
well, thank you again. And I always say, you have to always be more competitive or bring more value to the table than just saying, hey, send me a loan and I'm going to go ahead and get it pre-approved, because nowadays the loan is hard to come by and it's a lot of work, and so you got to add more value to the realtor partnership than just the traditional. And so
It's
you have to step out of the
communication, don't
comfort
you
zone.
think? Total
What was that?
communication. If you
Yeah.
communicate well, then we're going to get through this really, really well because it takes both of us. We become symbiotic. We become a partner when it comes gets we get it right down to the nuts and bolts of these transactions. I can't do my job without you, and I know you can't do without me, without the boots on the ground, answering all the legalities of the house itself. So
Exactly. And when it comes to the marketing, people just look at the name MKG, but MKG is a marketing organization. And so, we bring a marketing piece to the mortgage broker side. And a lot of realtors are not aware of who we are, what we are, our DNA, and the kind of things that we're doing as far as the innovative technology that we're integrating, into the real estate and making the realtor's job, uh, just bringing more value to the realtor, and it's a tool chest. And so when you look at the tool chest, do you just want to have a screwdriver and a wrench, or do you want to have all the power tools? So we have all the power tools here when it comes to the
you
marketing
do.
piece.
You are
Yeah,
like Mr. Techie. I'm always so impressed with some of the stuff you come up with. It's like I wish I could sit at my desk long enough to think of some of those things.
exactly. But without further ado, let's see. Let's talk about what's hot. What's new and what's the newest trends on the market. Because interest rates are dropping. Which is a good thing. But I always tell people, it's not. Is it a right time to buy? But don't let the interest rate affect your decision to buy, because you know the real estate value that was last year is not the same value this year. It might go up, but your equity in your home is not going to go up until you actually own that asset, where that's when you start getting that appreciation of it.
Well, I just had this conversation with, he's actually one of my doctors, which is interesting. He called me and said, hey, Linda, solar, right? Is it going to be worth my while? I don't know how long I'm going to be in this house. Am I going to be here 5 years, 10 years? I really don't know. Is it going to behoove me to go ahead and purchase solar and put it on there? Because I don't really want to put a lease on there. And so we talked it through, and bottom line, enjoy it now. Yes, you're going to get your money out of it. You may not get the full 20. I think he was talking 27,000, but in the same respect, enjoy it the few years that you are here. I put mine on years ago, not knowing how long I was going to be here or when I was going to be moving. But guess what? I've got to enjoy it for the last 10 years. And I haven't had a PG&E bill. So there's that. What is it worth? Add up your PG&E bills, what you're paying now, and times that out times even 5 years, and see, is it going to be worth it? Oh yeah, it's going to be worth it. So the home's the same thing. It's basically your piggy bank, and you got to keep a roof over your head. You might as well be putting that money in your piggy bank instead of somebody else's. So you'll
Well,
eventually get it out.
well, we know who that someone else is. Depending on where you live in, at Southern California, you got Southern Edison, and then Northern and Central California, you have Pacific Gas, and the rate hikes are just terrible. I mean, especially
Well, what did they
people that
go
are
up
on a
like
fixed budget.
three times or something this year? It was like, what?
Yeah, they had like four rate hikes, and so they continue to say, well, climate change, but it's it's pretty much the consumer is paying for the bankruptcy and all the fires and things like that, because climate
Yes.
change has been going on for decades now, and so that's not nothing new. But like you said, home ownership, we're looking
The
at the
equity in the home
affordability.
is building every day.
Correct.
Whether
Yeah.
you think you paid too much for that house or not, give it 5 years, give it 2 years, give it 10 years. It's gonna be higher than what it is now, and all that equity is your piggy bank that you're putting in your pocket. So, and you
And
had to pay for somewhere to put your head at night, so it might as well be going into your piggy bank instead of somebody else's.
and if anybody had a question out there about real estate, mortgage loans, you can go ahead and get into the chat. And so, we're able to answer those questions in real time, and, to help, demystify those myths, that is out there that you might be having. Well, I heard such and such, so and so did this. And, just to let, the audience or the listeners know, you only have to have a 500 credit score to buy a house. And yes, I said that, a 500 credit score to buy a house. You might have to put 10% down, but 500 credit score is what you would take for you to buy a house. Now,
They
if
all
you're
have
looking at,
guidelines. Yeah.
yeah, they all have guidelines, and credit qualify, and depending on what's going on with the credit, and so if you have a 580, then you can get down payment assistance, and we have some great down payment assistance program that has no income limits. You can make $250,000, and I can still get you down payment assistance. What do you need it? Or it just depends on the interest rates and think how those things work. But we're also, our doors are open to real estate agents, whether you're new in the business, been in the business for a while, experienced in the business. you know we have something that will always something for you to learn, and some new, like I said, it's the new tools. It's like a new toy. Do you want to play with the new toys and the new tools, or do you want to continue to use what you've been using? And maybe it works, but how are you going to 10 times your business with, in a 20, we're in 2025, we're not selling real estate, or doing mortgage lending back in like the 1990s or the 2000s. So you have to keep up with the new generation, and so it's not just the Gen Z's and the Gen X's here. What kind of, for me, I can speak on the mortgage loan officer side. I'm going to be a Gen Z or a Gen X, and for the realtor side, you can speak for that, Linda.
Well, one reason I moved over to EXP Realty is because I was at a mom and pop, but they were so old school. And it's like, you guys need to come into the next generation who's taken over, not the boomers, which is my generation. They're gone. They're kind of, that's the ones that are selling the houses. We've got all this younger generation come in. So that is exactly why I ended up going over to EXP, because they had, as on the brokerage side, the real estate side, they had all the tools and different things that was needed to kind of bring it into the now, instead of, I don't have time to go stand at everybody's door and knock on it, so
Oh
it's
no.
all online now. You got to move a
Yeah.
little quicker. I mean, I do try to offer some of the old school systems. Like, for an example, I had a seller come into my office a couple days ago, and right, he's old school. He doesn't have email, and he doesn't have this, but he still wanted the service. So we do try to accommodate, but in the same respect, a lot of our buyers it moves a whole lot faster than it used to, and they are usually pretty online savvy. So we kind of
Yeah.
need to bring them a lot of the realtors that can't keep up. And I've won many jobs over some of our old school realtors that hadn't kept up with the times. So definitely it would behoove them to hook up with Marshawn over there, and some of you realtors that need brought into the 20th century here. And
That's what I'm saying. 20th century real estate, marketing, selling, how do you, farm out, these new, new business. And so, that's what I created Broker Realtor Connect for. And so Broker Realtor Connect is a relationship between a mortgage loan officer and a realtor, where you guys, it's like a partnership, or, think of it as a team. And so, you can't have a quarterback without a wide receiver and your lineman. And so it all goes together. And so, we want to win every day, every day that we're getting up, driving new sales, driving new business. And, and it's also the customer experience. And so the client experience is everything, because if that client had the smoothest, the best experience from applying for the loan and getting approved through the loan process, as well as the realtor, showing them the house, and so if that client experience is great and the service is excellent, that's going to, they're going to keep that at the top of their mind, as well as refer other businesses, to either as an agent, if they wanted to say, well, buy another home. And even for me as a loan officer, they can say, hey, you worked with me when I had, didn't have the best of credit, where I went to a bank and they just sent me a denial letter and didn't even tell me that I can work on my credit. And so we're going to take those baby steps to help you we're going to build you up and get you to the house that you want, your dream house that you love, and not just disqualify you on your credit and say, come back next year when you figure it out on your own. We're going to work through this together, and it's not going to cost you a monthly payment. We're looking at $75 to understand the problem. And then we're going to, attack it, just like a game, a football game. We're going to get to the field goal line and score this touchdown and get you the house that you dream and that you love. And so that's what Broker Realtor Connect is about. How we're going to 10 times your business with 1/10 of the work. And so with Broker Realtor Connect, we're giving you free services, to the mortgage loan officers, to the realtors. We actually have our own internal website that does the free listings, where, it's co-branded. We get co-branded marketing materials for our realtors and for our, mortgage loan officers, where, you have that custom branded web page, as well as marketing material. We offer the FHA loans, the conventional, VA, USDA, down payment assistance. And here's the biggest thing that I think that adds the most value to any part of this, Broker Realtor Connect, is the free open house calls to drive your listings. So if you had a list of, let's say, all of your clients, and you've been in business for 10, 20 years, you had a 10,000 list, how about you upload that? And you've seen the experience, how that works, Linda,
yeah,
where if you talk 24/7, you can have someone call you, not a robot, but a real live person that's going to call your leads, as for your realtor leads, and to set up and schedule your open house to make you more successful with closing the real estate. Having, instead of having 2 or 3 people show up to your open house, you might have 100. And
I've
so,
had that happen before. It's interesting. I throw a pretty mean open house just on my own, but it was interesting.
you
I
do like
pulled up.
barbecue, taco truck with some
Well,
beer outside.
no,
I mean,
it's
how
just
do you?
finding us. It'd be, most people do not want to walk into some strange person's house, right? And just, with the notifications, the signage, and everything else, making people feel welcome. And I pulled up to start doing an open house because, right, I'm out putting out signs and different things. And I pulled up, and people are lined up around the block.
Wow,
They had to call the
that's
police to kind of
fantastic.
keep everybody in line. And it's like, you guys, I'm not sure the house can hold all of you all at once, but, let me get the door open and we'll get everybody in that we can. And it was just incredible. But Yeah, I'm pretty good at those open houses, getting the word out, getting the marketing out, like you said. That's so important. Just letting people know that they're there. And of course, depending on the house, you know, some homes are a lot more lucrative than other homes, you know, price range and location and different things. But I can't say that happens every single time. But I'll never forget that one where they were lined up around the corner and my eyes are like, oh my goodness. I guess I
Wow.
got the word out on this one.
But let's say you got busy. I mean, just imagine, how we can handle the heavy lifting and pre-qualify and book appointments seamlessly where
Mhm.
you're not having people walk into the open house that is not already pre-approved. Can you imagine having every single buyer show up to your open house with a pre-approval letter? And you
In
know
that
how you can do it. Let's say you have a house
definitely
that
speed it
maybe,
up.
yeah. Just imagine if you had an open house, or let's say you were, submitting an offer and the offer didn't go in. How many times have you been able to change the offer to the amount that you wanted to send in and having to keep calling the loan officer saying, hey, I got, another house that I want to submit an offer on. Could you change the pre-approval offer amount? Well, I put that back in the realtor's control now. Now
Yeah.
you can do it 7 days a week.
You
You
know,
don't got to wait on me
I
because
don't know
time
about
is
other
everything.
realtors out there, but I'm been known to write offers at midnight. I'm trying to get through the day, finish up for the day so I can start the next day. And that's all the only time I have is to write offers sometimes. And you're right. I need that pre-approval so I can get that submitted. So once they get into the office in the morning, you know, it's right there, you know, and I've used your system to where we just automatically change, you know, the address and the amount and boom, we're ready to go.
But we did learn that you can't really do that until they're pre-approval. Now it doesn't, once they're pre-approved and you're assigned to the loan, then you can pretty much change the pre-approval amount to meet
Up
the
to
house
the
that you're going to
amount that you say. Yes, I agree.
correct to what they're pre-approved for. Yeah,
We've
you
learned a
can't go
lot,
over than
haven't
what they're
we?
pre-approved, but you can always customize it to meet the home, to the home price.
Right.
Yeah,
And the
and
thing
so
about pre-approvals, and I don't know that buyers really understand that, is, and we say it takes both of us as a team, but on those pre-approvals are my instructions as the realtor because he's done all the background on your finance. I don't know anything about you as far as any of that goes. He basically writes the instructions on there so that I know when I go to make an offer what I need to do to get that house for you. And so he's the heavy lifter. I'm the face on the ground. I'm the one out in the battlefield, but he's my general telling me where to go and how to fight this battle. So I need him. I need you. I need the lenders. So those pre-approvals are really important because that's my instructions on how I need to handle getting you a home.
could you explain like to the audience about the new NAR rule and how that works? Where what does that pre-approval do for the home buyer versus, oh, I seen this house on Zillow. Let me call up the realtor and say, I want to go and see the house. I want to view it.
So the new NAR rulings, it used to be that well, number one, it started out with the the agents commissions. That's kind of how this all started. And now it's went into, not only does it, the new laws control the agents uh, percentage, commission percentage, but it controls the buyer's agreement with the agent. So for instance, which I just explained this at one of my listing appointments, it used to be just right on the listing agreement, sellers, this is how much it's going to cost for me to help you sell your home, all the marketing, all the open houses, all this is my percentage. But now you need to offer the buyer's agents a certain amount of money in order for them to bring their buyers in that they've worked really hard for and have got them through the pre-approval process and got them ready to go. We need them. We need them to come look at your house. Well, it used to be right at the listing. I don't know that NAR or sellers in general thought we did a very good job as agents, so they took that out of our hands. Now it's not done at the listing agreement. Now buyers have to have their own agreement with their agent that they're going to be great buyers and this is what they are going to pay their buyer's agent. Hopefully, they're going to ask the sellers and the sellers are going to agree to cover that cost, but I can no longer tell buyers what they're willing to cover and what they're not willing to cover. It's all handled now instead of at the listing. It's all handled now at the offer process. So each one has a contract. Listing or the sellers have a contract with their listing agent, a separate realtor, and buyers have a contract with their agent, a separate realtor. It's called a buyer's agent. So there's two realtors involved, and one of us protects the sellers and one of us protects the buyers. And so there's two separate agreements now, and that's what all those new laws are over. And then once you write the offer as a buyer over to the seller, you request the seller to pay your agent, and they send that buyer's agreement over with their pre-approval. A lot of times your proof of funds, and I don't know, there's several things that we have to send over. There's a one called a BCA that tells how the commissions work and differently. All that has to go over at the offer process now. Now it's no longer done at the listing. I don't have a clue when I take you in. I don't know whether that seller's being cooperative, uncooperative, how bad he wants to sell that house. It's basically, I think NAR's rulings are trying to level the playing field. So whether you have a hard personality, easy personality, everybody has a chance to get into a house and not look. They kind of took that emotion out of it. So now everything's done at the offer. I do find offers are taken, the negotiations on offers are taken quite a bit longer than they used to before the laws changed. But it's really not that much different, other than the buyers have been a little squeamish signing the buyer's agreement because that's a new thing for them. But it's really no different. It used to be when the sellers weren't offering a commission to the realtors or a very good commission. How I handled it, I would tell the buyer, yes, I would be happy to take you to see that home, but I'm telling you up front, they're not offering a buyer's commission. So you will end up paying whatever that amount was over and above whatever the little bit that they're willing to give you. Nowadays, I can't tell people that. It's like, I don't know, it's potluck. We'll just have to turn it in at the negotiation and we'll go from there. And then, of course, sometimes it goes back and forth if sellers are being obstinate, or sometimes it goes really easy and they say, oh yeah, sure, no problem, but it just really depends. And it's just a different time in the process that we have to negotiate that. But it's the same. I mean, you still pay your buyer's agent and you still pay your listing agent. So it's just now where we do it in the timeline, and the buyers now have to have their own contract with their own agent, and they can't play the field. They can't, I don't know, get miffed at that agent because, whatever they said that house wouldn't be good for them or something. I don't know what they get miffed at the agents for, but you have to find an agent in the beginning you like with it, stick with it, not keep going back and forth.
So circling back around, it's just like on the loan officer side, our fees are disclosed, right when the, either the CD goes out or, that's going to tell them, what the broker fee or the,
Right.
mortgage loan officer fee is going to be. And so it's like you guys are, like you're disclosing it in the beginning. But I want to play the devil's advocate. Let's say, you have either a seller that, wants to cut out the real estate agent.
Okay.
And don't
Are
value
we
the
talking for
time
sale by owners there?
or the expertise. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes,
So,
I am.
or the expertise to understand all the real estate laws and stuff. Because when you send, when I see those contracts, I'm like, oh man, I got to read through all this stuff and the fine print, and I'm like, what does this mean? And I see it, quite frequently. And can you imagine a seller that doesn't know about all the contract law? What do we do? What do we do, for that situation where I'm not gonna, that I would say the Grinch attitude that don't want to pay their realtor, for their, value of the real estate agent.
We had this discussion here a while back, and whatever real estate lawsuits that happen, 70% of them are those what do they call it?
For
Do
sale by
DIY,
owner. Huh?
DIY or for
Do
sale
it
by owner
yourself.
homes. And that's what usually ends up in court, a good percentage of them, because they didn't do it right. They didn't follow the laws, and somebody got whatever 5 years down the road and didn't like something, and well, they didn't follow the laws. So a lot of times, 70, I think it was like 70%, I think when we looked it up, was ended up in the real estate
Yeah.
courts. But what happened? So we talked about doing a program to kind of help our clients here, or people in, because we are in a huge home shortage, people. Whether you
Correct.
guys know it or not, we, especially in the average low home. I mean, our beginning homes are like 350,000. What does that kind of translate into payment amount, Marshawn? I mean, we're in desperate
I
need of these
mean,
homes.
350, we're not going to probably be over, without looking at the, current interest rate, but let's just hypothetically speak and say, 2,500. I mean, there's different
We're
ways
beginning
that
homes,
people,
people. We
yeah.
need them.
And,
We
and,
need them. So anyway,
and
I think we talked about a program here to help some of these for sale by owners that are riding on the fence and don't want to pay realtors, and yet they really need them, and it's the best thing for them, but they insist on whatever they insist
doing
on.
it
I mean, they're
themselves.
yeah, they're insisting on, they know more than the realtor, and they know the laws, and they know this, and they know the market, and well, okay, but we need the homes as a realtor. So we talked about maybe you coming up with a program to where we could help them still get on the
Oh,
market. And I want to keep everybody safe. I mean, that's my job as a realtor, and I can't, when you're being that obstinate, I can't do everything for you, but we can at least get it out there and get it to our people, and get you an offer, and then the buyer's agent, whoever that ends up being, you'll probably still end up paying them, but as a realtor and as a lender, we're in desperate need of homes. So, Marshawn, kind of tell him maybe what you've come up with as far as the program goes from the lender side to help these people stay kind of legal and current, and it'll help them out. And as, of course, it doesn't do much for me as the realtor, but I can help out where I can for you, because you're a great lender and we need homes out there. So take it away and kind of share what you're thinking about doing.
so just like NASA, we launched our satellite into orbit, for our sellers, and so we're going to help get these the sellers to the moon, which is to the closing table, and so we came up with a program for sellers called for sale by owner, which is a listing and buyer pre-screening services. And so what we are doing is that we are going to do all the heavy lifting, just like we do all the heavy lifting, for our realtors. And so we're going to be able to help them sell their home faster and more efficiently with no cost to the seller.
And
And
get
they're
those
almost
homes
thinking
out
like,
on the
well, how is
market.
this? Yeah,
Mhm.
how is this possible? This might be too good to be true. But we're going to keep them safe, like you said. And there's two options that they can do. How are we going to help them sell their homes at no charge? We're going to also give them the free listings on our for sale by owner mortgage broker listing site, which is available 24/7. People can pre-qualify and apply for a mortgage loan 24 hours 7 days a week. And we're going to do the pre-screening and to pre-approve those buyers so that they're not going to have their time wasted when someone's going to call them and going to tell them, I want to buy this house. We're going to be able to get them into escrow, and so they're going to have a dedicated mortgage lender support that we're going to help guide, the buyers through the financing. And so on the real estate side, which you had, covered earlier, if they're not represented, then they can go ahead and find, one of our broker realtor partners, which you're one of our broker realtor partners, and they can get that representation.
Mm-hmm.
schedule the open houses for them as well, but help them coordinate and attract, buyers. And here's I would say, the dessert that comes with, them selling their home is that they'll have the ability to have optional MLS and CRMLS listings for maximum exposures. And it's going to be, for a limited time, and they are going to be able to enhance their home's visibility and additional listing, with these additional listing options than just putting it on Zillow and just letting it, sit there on Zillow or wherever they're going to list their house is. And they're,
Mm-hmm.
once they add their home, to that, they're going to attract a lot more buyers. And of course, they have to request a price quote because our partners, each one has their own, time value and what, their brokerage is going to, say it's going to cost. And so that's going to be a limited listing agreement. And the, owners get to retain full control of the sale and,
They're
continue to
still going to
manage the
be doing their
transaction.
showings. They're still going to be
Yeah,
doing their open house. If that's what you choose to do, if you chose not to
correct.
have a realtor help you, you can still get the access to the buyer's agents and get them to bring their people in, all that marketing, and yet you still get to retain control.
Yeah, so our seller satellites is in orbit now. For those sellers that is want to be more conservative and say, how can I get the most value, for my home, and also get, because right now cash is king, and no one's going to really come to the table with all cash offers. So you're still going to have to attract these
Mhm.
buyers that's going to have to get approved for a mortgage loan through a lender or bank or whatever the case may be. And so all this, in a nutshell, is basically, how much is this going to cost me, is pretty much what everyone's going to say. Well, they're the listing fees are going to be paid out of escrow, and they're not up front
Right.
because we're going to still follow, the RESPA rules and everything else. And so, making
You're
sure
still going to
the
be
brokerage
protected.
protected and making sure you're protecting your license, and your brokerage firm is going to still, be able to, everything's going to go through the brokerage, and we're not going to, circumvent that. And so this meets the compliance piece of it, where, the brokerage is all going through the brokerage. And so there's no way of, going around that and going around the compliance. And so we're keeping it fully compliant, and everyone is transparent, exactly what the, limited listing agreement is that they're signing. And if they are shortfalls, sometimes these homes don't qualify for FHA conventional. Well, what are they going to do? Well, guess what? Some of, you're one of our broker realtor partners where they can go and, use some of that home equity for either some contractor repairs that can be paid out of closing, home equity. If they have home equity and it, is enough in there, instead of doing seller's concessions, in the end, they can take that in the beginning to get their home and get to maximize their value. Because if it can be done before its appraisal, or, the reappraisal comes out, then it adds more equity, more value to the home.
Mhm.
And so with that, the only thing I would say that they do need to have, the loan has to be pre-approved and AUS approved, by our company loan officer. Because if not, then it's pretty much, that loan isn't guaranteed. And so, that's one of the things that we launched. We launched that this month, which is kind of, during Black History Month. So it is something that, we're able to help those sellers or help those buyers achieve that home ownership. And like you said, the inventory is really, 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 it's just not a lot of inventory out there.
No,
But I'm
it's
going to turn it
not.
back
So
over to you.
not
And
only are we helping our community and we're helping our buyers, but this is a service I only offer to Marshawn as far as a broker realtor connect partner. And I'm going to keep you compliant. If that's the way you want to go, it's basically a la carte. So you pick the services you want. If you don't want the full service, then I'm not going to force it on you, but I'm still going to keep you compliant and still protect you whether you like it or not. But I'm doing it, to help Marshawn out, and I'm doing it to keep everybody compliant and everybody safe and get those listings out. But in the same respect, Marshawn is doing such a service, because I don't know about all you for sale by owners, but whenever I put a new listing out, my phone goes nuts, and somebody has to take all those calls. And Marshawn is great because he's going to take all those calls for you. and he's going to make sure they're qualified and pre-approved buyers, and only those are going to be looking at your home. You don't have to have all the looky-loos trying to con you out of this or con you out of that or offering you pennies on the dollar. He's going to pre-approve them and make sure that they actually are approved for whatever you have your home listed at. So I think that's a wonderful service, because it would take a lot off me if somebody was answering my phone and making sure all those buyers were pre-approved whenever I had a new listing go out. So you sellers, I think you should jump on this, but there again, that's coming from a realtor. So get a hold of Marshawn and let him help you out getting all your showing scheduled and getting pre-approved buyers in there, and see if maybe you can get that home sold a little bit faster than a typical for sale by owner goes. And I will help Marshawn keep you all compliant.
And then, and just like you said, it just, adding the value, and it takes the guesswork out of selling your home. I mean, you still have a realtor on the, how would I say, behind the scenes, and
kind of behind the scenes, since it's
kind of behind the scenes. And so, and I think, what would kind of be more to clear up any misconceptions or confusion is, if a buyer has an agent and they're under a contract, or at least a listing agreement, and the seller is for sale by owner, but they don't have an agent, could you kind of go into that and see, like, how does that trigger, commissions, and for them to, get representation?
And I'm sure a lot of these for sale by owners has already been hit with that. Is every realtor under the sun is looking for listings, because we are in a home shortage, people, and we have buyers that want homes. So every realtor out there is hitting these for sale by owners, trying to get them to list with them. All that stops once you have a limited listing agreement with Marshawn and whoever his Realtor Connect partner is on that particular time. So all those calls stop, and you will only get, because they're going over to Marshawn now, all these calls are going to go over to Marshawn. He's only going to be getting potential buyers that are going to be pre-approved before they get through that door, instead of all the realtors trying to gain your listing, and you haven't got one buyer call because you're so busy fending off realtors, I don't want you to list my home. I want to do for sale by owner. So that will stop all of that, because you have that limited listing agreement on that home. They won't do that anymore. And even if they do, Marshawn's there to answer all those calls versus you, and get that home sold for you.
And then, it's a fair trade-off. I mean, I rather have 20 calls or transfers that are pre-approved than 100 calls unpre-approved, not even gotten their financial documents checked. And you have a local, we're all here local. You're local here in Fresno. I'm here local in Fresno. But can you imagine those people that have those offers or pre-approvals from online lenders? OMG.
They call them and say, well, and they can tell the truth or not tell the truth. It doesn't really matter. And say, hey, oh yeah, I make, $500,000 a year. And oh, sure. Yeah. I work a full 40 hours and oh no, I don't have anything on my credit history. Oh, I have a 750 credit score. It doesn't matter what you tell these online lenders. They're like, well, with what you told me, yeah, you should probably be able to get a loan. That's called a pre-qualification. They just verbally said, oh yeah, that should work. And they send out this letter that says, hey, these guys talked to me and said this, so it should work. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that any of that information is verified. Wouldn't it be nice not to get into a transaction and then have it fall straight out because none of that information was verified? And funny thing, they have a 680 credit score, or they have a 500 credit score, and they only make maybe 80,000 a year, or they, whatever information they gave, they didn't prove it. And now all of a sudden we're getting ready to close on this house, and you find out, oh no, they're not really pre-approved. We were just joking. They told us this, but we couldn't verify any of it. So So the difference between a pre-qualification letter is simply means they talk to somebody at some lending company.
Or maybe they ran their credit and their
Maybe
credit,
they
and
ran their
yes.
credit, maybe they didn't. A pre-approval, especially a pre-approval with underwriting, it means they have went through the whole process. They verified all that information. They've talked to the lender has talked to the underwriters in the background. And they said, yep, we're good to go. All we need is a home address and we can close in 15, 20 days. Boom, as good as cash.
Yep. And one of the other things that we have another program that we have for those sellers, if you're selling your home, do you want to wait until that home is sold to buy another home? Well, we have a program where you can have two homes, but just one loan. And what I mean by that is you can use the equity in your, home you're selling to use that to buy your second home with just 10% down. And so that home doesn't even have to even be sold at that moment, where you can pretty much go ahead and move on in, to that new home and secure that home with just the equity, in your home that you're selling, as well as, our asset based loans, where if you had, stocks, bonds, CDs, things like that, you can use that as collateral to close on a loan. I mean, so we have so many diversification and options, for sellers as well as those buyers. And if you're a buyer and you're saying, I don't know if I have enough money to buy, it's tax season right now. We're talking about what are you going to do with all that, with your tax refund? Are you going to go and, buy clothes, cars, things that, of course, it's you might need a car for transportation, but if you're not investing into a house, you're not going to be able to create that generational wealth. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if you have a tax refund of $5,000 and you worked at a job for 2 years or 3 to 5 years and you have some savings in your retirement plan, and maybe you can get a seller to help give you some seller's concession, then between 21 to $23,000 you can buy a home. But that's considering you're covering all of your closing costs. But now, as far as on the lending side, that can be covered. We have programs where you only can come in with 1% down. Yes, 1%. And that's great. And it's also can be 0%, but you still have to pay for the closing costs. And you can go into the specifics of what the closing cost is, but we're talking at 1% down or 0% to buy a home. I mean, now is the time. And it
Well,
just
I think
depends
what
on what.
basically you're saying is everybody's history is different. Everybody's wants and desires are different from each other. So one's credit history may be one thing and they have the same desire, but the other's credit history is way different and their desire is different. So I think what I kind of get out of that is there's a program to fit everybody, but until they call you or until they get a hold of you, they're not going to know which program is better for you until they figure out what's kind of going on in your history and what your future plans are. And that's where Marshawn comes in, and he will match all that up and say, these are your options for whatever you had going on versus what you would like to go on. And you decide from there. Your future's yours. You pick from here, but I'm giving you the tools, so you decide which works for you and what's going to meet your goals for your future, because they're all
Well,
different. Everybody's history is different.
and it comes down to customization. So what you're referring to is basically our clients now are being able to customize the loan, and we're able to just customize everything for the client. And so from the buying experience to the selling experience, it's just like if you go to a restaurant, or you want to customize, and build your own meal, or build your own omelet, or whatever you're trying to do, you can customize your loan or your loan experience to meet your financial needs. And you also can customize your loan if you're paying rent and your rent is $1,800 and you want a mortgage for $1,800. That can happen. But what you qualify for, it might not be enough to what's on the market.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to travel and go maybe 50 miles, 60 miles to get into some of our programs that allow you to do the 1% down, to where that, you know,
Everybody's goals are different. So if that fits within your goals, it might be the program for you. Until Marshawn and you sit down and have a conversation, he's not really going to know. He's got to figure out what you want and what would work for you. And here's the programs that's available that might work. Is that something that interests you? And then kind of delve into some of those. So it's just a conversation. And I would say it's more than just a 5-minute conversation, people.
Correct.
It
And
might take you, I don't know how long kind of a typical kind of get through that session takes, but it could be, the next day you find out something different and you can present maybe even more offers or more programs that work. I don't know kind of how that works because there again, I'm just a realtor and I just deal with the houses.
yeah, we're lighting mortgage fires over here, not, because what we're trying to do is, there's a lot of people, that might be, comfortable thinking, that they can leave a house on the market, for 18 months, 14 months, 6 months, 9 months, where, that doesn't add to the inventory shortage as well.
No,
And so, you might need to have some power tools, to help you, list and sell that property. And so, we're I'm okay with putting this podcast to a close. And so we'll definitely have to you know bring in some other viewpoints from other realtors, other loan officers that might be interested in sharing what they do as far as their buying and selling experience. But I think we put a lot out there for people to think about,
I
and then
do think
give them
so.
something to sleep on. And for
And
those that maybe was discouraged, had a bad experience at one point, told them what they couldn't do, because if you hear you can't do this, you'll start believing that. And there really isn't no
true.
can'ts. There is a can do attitude, and that's what we have: a can do attitude to help you get into a mortgage or to buy a home. So the can do attitude is for us to help you buy a home. And if you, it's just a mindset. You can do what you put your mind to do. If you put your mind to saying you were going to buy a home and you have the right support behind you, it's a support system. We're going to help you buy that home.
Yes, I agree. I just had this conversation with I just listed a home today that, well, it will be getting it cleaned up here, but um, he kind of said the same thing. He says, I've talked to several realtors and he says it was so discouraging. He says, I know it needs a little bit of help, but I just needed help. I needed some expert guidance. He says, and you're the first one that was able to give it to me. And he says, some of those other realtors was kind of hurt because it's like, no, I found my realtor. So, but it's
Yeah.
that same way in the buying side of it. You just got to find the one that fits with your life. The yes, you do need us realtors in the beginning, but I'm telling you, I can't do my job without a good loan officer on that side. And we become a team. And you have to have that pre-approval before I can even help you go look or get that buyer's agreement signed, because we need qualified buyers. I can't just take anybody in to look at homes nowadays, not with those new law changes. So you have to have that buyer's agreement in place. So it's just
You got a
really
book
important
too.
to follow the
You have a book
process.
available. Don't
Yeah,
you have a book?
follow
You have a
follow
book.
the people that gives you the information that works with your life. And hopefully we're it. But if
And tell them
any of
about your
you
book.
buyers out there have questions, you can jump on these podcasts and ask them. Or if you would even like to be on our podcast and ask all your questions, we would love it, because that will be a real world, real buyer scenario on some of the questions that we filter all the time on an everyday basis. So if you're a buyer or you're a seller and you have questions for realtors and lenders, we would love it if you would jump on here and be with us and kind of bombard us with questions, so that we can answer them in real time in real life. So don't be shy. But everybody, it was a joy. Marshawn, always a pleasure. And anytime you want to jump on, just let me know. I'm Linda Peltz with eXp Realty. My license number is 01997870. All the information is going to be down below. My phone number is 559-353-4556. And I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Sellers, buyers, you name it. I'm here for you. You just give me a call, give me a text, whatever works with your schedule. And I'm sure Marshawn is the same. If you want to give your info, let's go ahead and close out here.
Well, I want to go ahead and close out and say, there's no loan too small and there's no loan too big. And so, we can, start off with, if you want to have a, a house or don't want a big loan, we're not going to sell you a loan that doesn't fit and doesn't meet, your, ability to repay. And if you need a big loan, we have loans that go up to 30 million and 100 million. That's for, our multifamily, uh, commercial loans. And so, like Linda said, we're here, to assist and guide you through the mortgage process. Linda has a book on the seller's guide. I also have a book that's available on Amazon, called Unlocking the Door, a guide to home buyers. If you want a free book, then go ahead and, message me. I'll be more than happy to, send that book to you. But you can reach me at 559-412-7248, or visit us online at mkgenterprisescorp.com. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, um, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're, you can just find MKG Enterprises and YouTube. So that's a lot of where our videos is at. You can also get a replay of this podcast on YouTube as well, if you, don't have a lot of social media accounts. But yeah, once again, thanks for tuning in to the Broker Realtor Connect podcast, and stay looking forward to more shows coming in the future.